Hello, beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is nice and round episode 390. Why does it matter? Well, every episode means a single day of podcasting and writing the blog. And not only a single day, but consecutive day. So you can read by it very quickly that 390 days means the actual duration of this whole project as a streak, unbroken streak of consecutive days of blogging and podcasting, which is amazing for a person like me that is not very structured and doesn't stick to many routines easily. Obviously, the bad routines are probably the easiest, but if it comes to something productive like this, my track record wasn't very good until now. So Blunt Force Healing, as the name says, is about blunt truth. And this project started as just a form of accountability for myself, but also to produce content that might be in the future useful for others or along the way. I wasn't thinking about, followers or, subscribers at all. Obviously, in the back of my head, I knew that it might happen because I'm posting a public content, so there's always a chance that somebody likes that rambling or rants and other dual stuff that I might be doing. But it wasn't the primary goal of it. It was just to produce some form of journal, and all the struggles, all the neutral or dual moments, all the ups and downs of not only building the habit or routine of daily writing and blogging, or vlogging actually, so the video podcasting, but also everything that comes along the way. And so far, so good. We have beautiful weather today. There was a little bit of drizzle, or rather small spells of rain, but in general it's sunny weather here in Donegal in Ireland. It's quite unusual because, we had very wet months recently, the summer months, and September was also quite wet. But they were warm, decently warm months. But now we have a little breakthrough, and the weather, while still fairly good, or actually it's getting slightly better because we have more sun shining, the temperatures dropped. And unfortunately, in our kitchen floor, under the kitchen floor, I think, well, either under the kitchen floor in our house or behind the, the thermostat in the kitchen, there's something wrong with the probe, the floor probe. So the heating doesn't work. It's not a problem yet, albeit it's harder to heat up the house. Obviously, it would probably be more expensive to just use the underfloor heating in the room and in the hall to keep up with the requirements until the probe is fixed. And I don't know how much time will take to first get the plumber or the person that can do it, because I'm still waiting for them to come. And second, if it's just a one-day job, that's fine. But if that probe or whatever failed needs repairing or replacing, it might take a bit longer. So fingers crossed we can sort it out quickly. We won't freeze up, but obviously it's not nice to be in a cold house, even though we have I would say a higher tolerance probably than most of the people, not most of the people, the average person does. There's probably a lot of people that have good tolerance to cold, especially in the era where it's more popular, I guess, to take cold water deeps, take cold showers, etc. So I suspect there is more people that built up that tolerance to cold a little bit higher. But in general, I can still see majority of people, whenever the temperature drops just by a couple of degrees or there is a slight wind, people just dress up in multiple layers, and they don't do themselves a favor, because the more you isolate yourself from the temperature, the weather, and get used to it, the more you need to do it when it gets colder. So over time you actually need more layers, and you're less tolerant to cold temperatures, and in turn it's easier for you to get some illnesses and viruses, because your immune system and your body is less resilient and less resistant to cold. On the other hand, if you expose yourself to cold very often, obviously within reasonable manner, then you increase that threshold. You build up, you mobilize your body to respond to cold properly, mobilizing the cardiovascular system, the hormonal balance, and all different systems that I can't tell you about too much because I'm not a scientist in that area. But after listening and reading a lot of different, obviously, camps, there's some pro cold, some against cold, some in the middle, and some reasonable ones that say yes, cold is cool for some or in certain situations, but shouldn't be used in other situations. And I like those people approach, because they usually base everything on science, and like everything in life, nothing is just purely black and white. There are shades of gray and different colors or different flavors to what we do, and they don't always apply in certain situations. So it's important to understand the mechanics of certain things before we talk about them and use them. So today it's nice. I am going to Ini again, which is third day in a row. My wife is already on the verge of being pissed off and throwing me away of our house. No, obviously not, but yeah, it's quite weird for her that I just got that streak of goings into the forest. Well, it's not third day in a row in Ini, but it's probably fourth day in a row in general, but 3 of those days were in Ini. And I'll tell you exactly why, because yesterday I had amazing encounter at dusk where a big red deer, male, which they call, I think, a stag, ran through the field just beside the forest that I was foraging, howling, like making that weird loud noise like a call. I don't know if it's a mating call or is it a fighting call or maybe some emergency alert that either himself or some other deer was hurt and he was calling for the rest of the herd. I don't know. I'm not familiar with those, but this is the first time I've heard such a loud call from a deer, and particularly red deer. I didn't encounter many of them, and stag was amazing. It had like all that mane around his neck and huge kind of antlers. I was able to capture just a moment of it with the loud noise. So I'll try to stitch it to the episode or post it separately on the blog. So make sure that you go to www.bluntforcehealing.com or simply bluntforcehealing.wordpress.com. Both addresses work and will get you to the blog. Blog is the best place to consume my content because I write the blog post, which is slightly different. It touches on things that I say in the podcast or in the daily episode on the video, but also touches on different things as well. So they complement each other. And blog has this video or the podcast embedded, the episode embedded in the blog post. So it's a one-stop shop for everything, every day, in terms of my journaling. So if you want to follow me and get the full benefit of the information that I provide or update you on, then it's better to bookmark the blog itself rather than consuming in YouTube only, because you'll be missing on some things if you just watch or if you just read, you can't miss because the blog post is there, the video episode is embedded there, so you can't miss it. So pretty much podcasting might be a little bit short on some information. I arrived at Inny Water. I will be finishing shortly. It's a bit windy, but it's dry. I don't think I will meet any deer today because it's middle of the day, but I have a free day today. I still need to come back and hand over Julian to his classmate's mother because she's picking them up and taking to their house for a play date, so they will spend some time together, about 2.5 hours. So that's what I want to do. And so I have about probably an hour before I need to drive back to Donegal town and to school. And maybe I will also use a little bit of that time between the school pickup and the sunset to fully use that day and see what I can get. I'm looking for mushrooms as well today, as always, this time of year, but this time I'm focusing on elite, I would say, side of boletes. So the sep or porcini mushrooms that you might know, or penny bun, it's called sometimes on the British Isles, is my target. And also any bullets that are, hard and good to dry, rather than just eating them straight away, because I need to replenish my stores for the winter time for soups and other dishes, just to kind of boost our immune system and protein intake in kind of veggie type of dishes. Although we are not vegetarian, we eat meat sometimes, but we balance both, I think, well. So yeah, this is it for today, I guess. If something happens today after recording this episode, you're likely to read it in the blog post, because I write the blog post later on and embed this video in it. So there's probably always a little bit more information in the blog post added on top of the podcast. So this is 14 minutes in. Thank you very much for coming and popping by. If you're new to the podcast and blog, please subscribe and follow for more. If you're the person that often visits me and consumes my content, thank you very much for your time, because it's a precious time, very valuable time on your side. You could spend it on something else, yet you're spending on consuming my content and listening to me, which I always appreciate. Have a great rest of the day, guys, or afternoon or evening, depending on which time zone in the world you are. And stay tuned for next episode tomorrow.